Today's seminar is being brought to you by Cake Marketing Inc. From website, social networking through to advertising, Cake is a full-service digital marketing agency and proud to be a Google partner. Cake believes that if you market to the world, and the world will be your market. Today's seminar is being brought to you by Cake Marketing Inc.
Hi, good morning everybody. I'm Dave West and so glad to have you joining us here today. Off to the side of your video you'll see a chat box. It would be great if you would pop over there and put into the chat your name and your company name. And as I'm just getting started here, to bear with me as I sort out any kind of technical issues I'm having. It looks pretty good though. I think the stream is going out well. We're running at full output here. So without further ado, I'm going to get started, and again, I just wanted to let you know that that chat box is there for you, and it would be great if you would let us know who you are. First name's fine, and perhaps where you're viewing from. Online today is my guest, Robin Spears with Robin Spears and Associates. I've invited Robin to come and share some of his sentiment around Google Apps for Work, as he's a recent convert in terms of his business. And I have also online Claudette Stiven, my associate, who is going to be helping us in terms of moderation. But when you see me going like this, that's because I'm looking over to see if you're chatting with me also, if you have any questions. And I welcome those. I'll do my best to answer the questions as I take breaks and do segues. So I think I've covered the points I wanted to, and so without further ado, let me introduce you to Google for Work. I see Stephanie online. Thanks for joining us, Stephanie. And let's start off by saying that 5 million businesses have adopted Google for Business. And that's a pretty super astounding number. And some of those numbers, included in those numbers, are companies like FedEx, Uber, Whirlpool, and in Calgary, some of our large businesses, like I know for factually that CIR Realty, for example, is also using Google for Work. And so for large enterprises to be adopting the Google world, if you would, it's pretty amazing stuff. Amongst the businesses that I could sort of flush out, if you would, are these companies like the ones on your screen right now. There are undoubtedly some very, very large Fortune 500 businesses that have adopted Google for Work. And if you understand technology and you understand all of the hardware necessary, the bandwidth, the data exchange to actually achieve these things, you understand, man, this is why people are adopting cloud-based solutions like Google for Work. In fact, 60% of Fortune 500 businesses have now adopted Google Apps for Work, and I just wanted to share that with you. I will tell you that 100% of my companies have adopted Google for Work, and we're a business that are early adopters. It helps that at the helm is somebody who's self-professed technology geek, and so we adopted Google for Work years ago. Actually, we started using it when it was still, frankly, there were some issues. Like all of these things, when they're new, there can be problems, but we're very fortunate that Google has stayed on it and has continued to evolve their systems. So bear with me here now. I'm just going to check over. I see there's some people chatting there. I just want to see if I should get involved. Looks like it's all great. So thank you. I see Jason Hasty has joined us online. Jason, nice to see you. Jason's a real good friend. Jason's a musician. Jason's also my accountant, and so Jason fulfills many roles in my life, not necessarily, anyways, he's a good guy. I'm glad to see you online, Jason. Here's some of the stuff right from Google's own writings with regard to Google Apps for Work. We have low risk, and so the ability to switch into and try Google Apps for Work is really very inexpensive, and the risk is eliminated because this is a robust, secure cloud solution, and Google publishes a 99.9% uptime. You will save money because of the reduced cost of in-house infrastructure. You do not have to buy servers and have computers and technology in a nice, cool room in your office. In fact, it's really not the norm to do that anymore today, except in some extreme situations where data management and security maybe become a bit of a different issue. You'll save time. Quick migration to Google Apps, and it's easy to adopt. Most of the people working in your organization are probably already using Google Apps in their own life, in their personal life. And so to switch your organization to Google Apps, the transition is almost right along the same mantra that Apple uses. You already know how to use it, so you're going to have a nice, quick transition. Google Apps for Work is scalable, so as your business grows, you can add users and add data storage to your business, and it's scalable. So you don't have to worry about reaching a certain number of seats and having to buy new licenses or having to upgrade your servers or buy new equipment to achieve growth within your business. This type of a service will change the way you work. You're going to achieve efficiency with collaboration that you probably have never seen before if you've never used these types of cloud-based services. You get your business to the next level. We certainly have experienced this for our own business, and just to give you an example, we have writers now producing content with us for our clients for websites and for social strategies, and they literally are located all over Canada and the United States, and we can collaborate with those writers daily. We can actually see them typing. We can go in and comment, collaborate on things like editorial calendars, and it's just really brilliant. The Google for Work suite features offline capabilities. So if you're concerned that the internet in your office will go down, then I just want you to know that Google does write and does provide support for offline. So things like Google Mail, your Google Calendar, and there are offline docs capabilities within the Google suite. Now, this is becoming less of a concern for most businesses that are connected all the time. But the truth is, if your internet now today in your office goes down, probably accessing your email and your docs is going to be the least of your concern, because so many businesses are transitioning other very important components of their business to online communication, including things like telephones. So I can tell you that long before we panic about not having access to our Gmail, if our internet goes down in this office, we're more concerned that we can't answer our telephones. So, but you can go offline anyways if you choose to. Now, Google says, in terms of this question, how about all of the documents that I have that are done in that other, the Microsoft Word or Microsoft Excel, are they all for gone and for naught? And Google says that Docs is compatible with Microsoft Office file formats and many other standards such as PDF, OpenOffice, the standard ODF format. Standard Microsoft file formats are supported for import, export from all of these popular formats. So you can import them into your Google Drive, you can edit them in Google Docs, and you can save them in the native Google Doc format or export them into PDF or export them back to Word documents. And so that's always been a question, particularly for enterprise clients that are working collaboratively with other businesses who have adopted the Microsoft suite of tools. Are they interchangeable? Can we still work with those people? And the answer is yes. There's of course no additional software required to do all these things. The Google for Work suite is, as I said, low risk, saves money, saves time, will change the way you work. And this is particularly, I thought, an interesting point, because 53% of people now in the workplace are working from one form or another their own hardware. And so the compatibility and the cloud access is becoming more and more important. And so 53% of people are using their own tablets in the office, they're using their own laptops, and there really is a sort of growing trend towards this bring your own hardware to the office type trend. So today I'm going to introduce you to core apps within Google for Works suite. I'm not going to cover every possibility or everything that's available, but the thing that most small business owners will be using, of course, is Google Mail, Google Calendar, Google Drive, and then the Google Docs. I'm also going to touch base on Google Hangouts, simply because Google Hangouts are really cool, but they also let you chat within your own office environment, and frankly, I want to share it with you because it's become so important to our own business and how we're using it. And you'll get to meet Robin in a few minutes also through a Google Hangout. Let me start off now by touching base on some high-level things. This webinar was not intended to be a, click here, drag this, here's how you read your mail, not a hands-on training session. I really want to help you to determine for yourself if Google Apps for Work is ready for your business and if it's something that you'd like to explore. But almost everybody I know has at one point or another used Google Mail or Gmail. And I want you to know that when you adopt Google Apps for Business, that is what you will be adopting as your primary interface into your email world. I want you to note, though, that when you switch to an enterprise solution with Google, the Google logo that you see so dominantly in Gmail is gone. It actually becomes your own corporate brand. And so the Google for Work suite is all branded for your company, and the Google logos are quite subordinated and actually very hard to find. So when you print things like emails, you're not going to see the Google logo on them. You're going to see your own corporate logo, which you should expect as a business. Google are also experts at handling the types of things that make email very, very difficult to provide as a service today. Things like spam, phishing attempts, this overwhelming amount of communication coming into our inboxes. Google has provided a phenomenal priority inbox, an opportunity for the mail to be sorted into categories for you. It's very good at sorting out all of the sort of the wheat from the chaff, the things you need to look at versus the things that are things like subscriptions, newsletters, all that other stuff that you get. Google Mail really can save you a ton of time by separating out the mail for you. And I'm not doing a hands-on here today. I just want you to know these are some of the benefits of working with the Gmail interface. Now, the Google Calendar it goes beyond just having a calendar on your desktop. It is something that, of course, syncs to the calendar app on your phone. It also is something that is hugely collaborative. So I have my entire team on Google Apps, as you would if you converted over, and you literally can display all of the different calendars all within one. So it's easy for collaboration in terms of coordinating time slots for meetings, for team meetings, and so on and so forth. And so the screenshot I have up behind me right now, you see those different colors. Well, every color on my calendar represents a different individual and their schedule. So I can see who's meeting with me, who's not meeting with me, when other people are busy, so on and so forth. It's probably, and as much as it's probably the least celebrated of the Google apps and the one that we use probably 20% of the time, but I got to tell you, it's probably the most important one to me in terms of my day. Now, Google Drive is the Google World equivalent of services like Dropbox. You run a little widget on your desktop and coordinate your local filing system with your cloud-based filing system. Google Drive also is where your native Google apps like the Google Word documents, the Google spreadsheets, the Google presentations would reside. Recent months, Google also integrated photos, and so if you're taking photos with your phone and you have it set up, your photos will automatically go up into your Google Drive and archive themselves on Google Drive. And it's really has eliminated kind of two things in my world. It's eliminated my fear that my computer's going to crash and I'm going to lose 5 years worth of photos. It's also eliminated me printing photos. I don't know when was the last time I printed a photo, and unfortunately I often think about, it wouldn't be nice if we could print some photos again and create an album and put it with all the ones with the kids and the baby photos. But anyways, photos on Google Drive, brilliant. I love it. Here's an example of the photos that are going off of my phone. I had to be careful when I screen capped this because I take photos of lots of things, including menus and just all sorts of things that are not really interesting, never to be published. But here's Google Photos in Google Drive. Pretty powerful stuff. Here's a Google Hangout. Google Hangout is sort of the collaboration suite that was evolved initially with Google+, which was Google's most recent attempt to create a social network. It's constantly evolving, and Google has started breaking it up, and Google Hangouts has survived as a standalone product offering now that becomes part of the Google Apps for business or for work. And one of the most important changes they made in just recent months was the ability for me to schedule a meeting on my Google Calendar, add a video link into the invitation, and then that video link allows the person I'm inviting to my meeting to click the link and join the Hangout. Now, that's always kind of existed, but the more important part is that they can click the link and join the Hangout simply by typing their name. They don't have to have a username or password to join the Hangout anymore, because that was a barrier to entry. I can't send out a meeting invitation to a potential client and ask them to do a video conference with me if it requires them to go first and try to figure out how to get a Google account if they don't already have one. So it was really, for me, it was really a barrier to entry in terms of Google Hangouts, but that barrier is being lifted, even to the degree now that my 74-year-old father and I do Hangouts probably 2 or 3 times a week. And in my slide that I'm showing you right now, that's my father, and he's got his dog on his lap, and my wife in the living room back here in Calgary with our dog. And so Google Hangouts has not only changed the way we do business, it's actually changed, frankly, the way we do family. And I think it's a brilliant tool. I'm just going to go through a few more of these apps that are part of the suite to just kind of show you what's going on and talk, and then I'm going to introduce Robin Spears, who is a business owner who has converted to Google Apps, just to hear what he has to say about that transition. Google Docs, though, has the equivalent, of course, of a Word document. And so showing on your screen right now is a document in Google Docs. And the part about this that I think is truly brilliant is the collaboration, where I can literally go in there and I can switch to an editor mode and I can start highlighting things in the document and making change requests that don't actually necessarily change the document, but make suggestions to the actual document author. And then the document author can go through and literally select the check marks and say, I love these changes, and it automatically occurs, or hit the X's and say, you know what, no, that's not going to work for me. And both do happen, but this ability to collaborate in writing and in creative is just powerful. The spreadsheet equivalent, or sheets as Google calls them, is also equally as powerful. And so what I'm showing you on my screen right now is a mailing list that we curated by literally going out and scraping websites all over the Calgary area to get a list of, and I think there's 500 or 600 dentists and orthodontists on our list, because we want to do some addressed direct mail. Now, getting them into the spreadsheet is one thing, actually being able to use the data is another thing, but we use sheets in our office to do everything from this type of data mining all the way through now to budgeting for our own business. And so we have collaborative budget sheets now where we can track things like Ironically, one of our most expensive expenses that we track is the cost of software as a service. Because as a digital agency, I'm sure you can imagine that when you start subscribing to things like the Adobe Suite and various different reporting tools, and it just goes, the list goes on and on for us, we get a substantial expensive software as a service bill. But I take that spreadsheet now, and using the data collected on the sheet, we can then leverage tools like Google Maps, and there's little free services all over the internet. Some are not free, but this service I use is called Map a List. Kind of intuitive, but Map a List, it literally connects to the Google spreadsheet with my dental practice list and puts a pinpoint on the Google map for every dental practice on my list. So now I can actually visualize data. Now think about this in terms of your own business. If you put all of your clients into a spreadsheet on Google and then connected it to a map, you would be able to see geo accurately where are your customers. Now, if you're a local business, like for example a dental practice, and you geo-mapped your client base, it might bring out to the surface an awful lot of information about where you should be spending marketing money, both online in terms of your geo-targeting, but also in the real world in terms of addressed mail, unaddressed mail, outdoor advertising, bus benches, billboards, and so on and so forth. So the ability to use the data is powerful. Now let's talk for just 2 seconds about actually gathering data. So we have the ability to create spreadsheets, and Google has introduced the ability for us to easily and quickly create forms to get the data into the spreadsheets. And so these forms we use as part of business process, but you could use it as a survey tool if you wanted to do a follow-up survey after you've delivered a service to a client. So using Google Forms, you could create your survey, you could send out the link, share that with your clients, and they could fill it out, and you get a notification when they've completed the survey. We're using Google Forms to capture information for onboarding processes or for startup processes and accounts. So for example, we have on the screen right now Google Apps setup requests. So if a client wants to transition from standard POP3 or whatever kind of email services they're using now, and they want to switch over their business to Google Apps, we will send them this onboarding form to capture their data. Here's another example of a form for the AdWords campaign setup. And so again, using these forms, we can very quickly produce a process to gather data from other people in order to do our jobs as a digital marketing agency. Just give me 2 seconds here. Perfect. All right. So I showed you the functionality for mapping a list. I've showed you sheets, I've showed you docs. Now I just want to talk to you for a minute about Google Slides. And so Google Slides is, to put a perspective on it, is the Google equivalent to the one that you're most familiar with, PowerPoint, and for you Mac users, Keynote. And so today's presentation that I'm delivering to you, I've actually created inside of Google Slides. If I'm going to, what better demonstration of the capabilities than to use it to do a presentation to you for you today. And so Google Slides are the equivalent of PowerPoint and Keynote, and Google Slides is supported offline, so Google does impress that you can start using this. It's pretty cool stuff. I'm using it also for things that are not traditional. So I have a Google slide deck that I use for our public area display, or the television in our reception area has a slide deck rotating different messages and different images, and we're using Google Slides for that, because then I can actually update it from my own desk. I don't have to go out and access the computer at the television. All right. So, without further ado, what I'd like to do is introduce Robin Spears. Robin is a real estate broker and realtor. He has a team of realtors here in Calgary, and we have the pleasure of working with Robin in terms of the transition from the traditional POP3 kind of mail to Google Enterprise. And so just give me 1 sec here. I'm going to get Robin up on the screen. And I will just preface this segment by saying that this is my first attempt at streaming. This is my first attempt at streaming somebody in from a Hangout, Robin. So you are truly being my guinea pig today, and I appreciate that. So you're on screen and you're live, Robin. You're unmuted, I hope.
I am unmuted. Yeah.
Excellent. Well, great. And thanks. Thank you for volunteering uh, to share with us some of your experience as a an entrepreneur, a business owner, and a team lead for your brokerage. Robin, in terms of preparing to transition to from what you were doing before to Google Enterprise, can you just maybe speak to what your experience was around that transition? Was it?
Well, actually, before I go any further, I'm actually not a broker.
Oh, okay. Yeah,
Um,
thank you.
but I just thought I'd put that out there. Just a lot of people actually think I am.
Oh, well,
So,
yeah. It's my mistake, but thank you. Thanks for that clarity. Yeah.
um, so anyway, our experience, well, it was really easy to switch over to Google Apps for Work, partly because had your assistance, David, but even without your assistance, not to minimize what you helped us out with, it was very easy to transition over. If you're even remotely computer literate, it's no problem at all. And not to mention, Google's got 24-hour support, 7 days a week. So there's and you know always gotten the answers for any question I've had with them. So
Excellent. Yeah, and that's an important point is that people are not left in a lurch when they convert over. Google actually in I'd say the last few years has become phenomenally good actually at answering their telephone, which is really brilliant for an organization their size. And because you're a paying customer, yeah, they give you the attention that you deserve for sure. Um, when you made the transition to Google Apps for Work, was it hard for you or your team to get into it and figure it all out?
no, because I mean, once you get it set up on all your devices, it's as if you're just using the devices app. I mean, it's really seamless to set up. Getting You've got access to your calendar on your calendar app. You've got access to your email on your email app. You don't need the Gmail app. You could get your email that way, but you can also get it set up like we're strictly Mac users in
Right,
our firm, in our group.
right.
And so our iPhones, iPads, and MacBook Pros are all updated. It's so easy. It's
Fabulous.
as if we're using the Mac apps.
Yeah. Well, we've been using Google Apps for Work for so long now. Honestly, when I have a computer come to the end of its life, I don't even have to back it up. I format it and pass it on to somebody who needs it. But we don't even have to worry about if a computer or hard drive crashes now. We're way beyond being concerned about any data losses,
Yeah,
in part
on
because
the
of these
cloud.
tools. Yeah. Um, so I had in my notes here to ask you what the things we've talked about and some of the other facilities available in terms of Google for Work. Is there any one particular thing that you just think is phenomenal that your team has grown to really love, or has it just become so part of it?
Well, how long do we have for this
Yeah,
webinar?
about
Um,
4 more seconds. No,
I don't think we could do without any of the Gmail. We could not do without Calendar. We could not do without Google Drive. We could not do without. I mean, I suppose we could, but it would take more time. They're all really, and same with Hangouts. So if I can maybe speak to each really quickly.
right,
The Gmail. Um, well, it's email. We can't survive in business today without having access to email. That's replaced fax and then some. Uh, the calendar. I mean, we've got our office manager that makes sure that she's got control of our calendars, or at least she has editability. So I mean,
yep,
we can look at all of our calendars. We can see what the team's doing. We can we're in sync completely.
right,
And then sharing documents with Google Drive again is we don't have to fax things over. We just upload it to Google Drive, and uh, our our admin in our office have access to all the documents that need processing right away. I mean,
mhm,
we've been paperless for 4 years, but I'll tell you, um, going onto Google Drive took it to a whole other level.
That's
sorry,
fun.
going
Yeah.
to Google Apps for Work went to a whole other level.
Yeah,
Their
well, for
business.
sure. Yeah. And have you been using Hangouts at all to collaborate with your team, to chat, that sort of thing?
Yeah, I was actually thinking about this the other day. I was down on holiday in, I think, probably Palm Desert. We were at one of the outlet malls, and something came up, and I needed to get in touch with our client care manager, and there was Wi-Fi there, and I just through Hangouts was able to get in touch and deal with everything, and problem solved in 2 minutes.
Excellent. Perfect. Good stuff. I love it.
Didn't even make an indent on my holiday.
Yeah, and we talked just before the hangout today. Robin and I were talking about this ability to make a phone call using Google Hangouts, and I was telling Robin that when you're in the U.S., it's kind of a bit of you have to play a little trickery here. But when you're in the U.S., there is a way to actually get a Google Voice number, which is an inbound phone number, to your Google Hangouts, and then somebody like your assistant back in Calgary could actually transfer phone calls to your Hangouts also, which is it's pretty powerful stuff. Robin, just very briefly now, and then I'm gonna just go through the last couple of slides, because I promised you 3 tools or 3 tips to plug into your Google Enterprise that will help you. They're things that I've grown to love and use every single day in terms of being more efficient with Google for Work. And so I'm going to show you those in just 1 second. So Robin, but in just very briefly, how likely would you recommend other small business owners, mid-sized businesses, switch to Google Apps for Work?
Well, if any of my competitors are listening, don't. But really and truly, yeah, it's. I would highly recommend it. I think you'd be crazy not to use it.
Right.
It's the best thing out there right now.
Fabulous. Okay, Robin. Well, thank you for joining me. You're welcome. I'll leave the Hangout running so you can stay in, and but I am going to mute you again, and I'm going to carry on. Thank you, Robin.
You're welcome, David. Thanks for your help.
Thank you. I thought it would be fun to get the impressions of an actual real customer who's switched over to Google Enterprise or Google Apps for Work, and just hear that. Now here's the 3 things that I want to share with you that I use. I'll bet you, most certainly every day of my business life. First of all, if you go to calendar.davidawest.com, that's calendar.davidawest.com, you'll see a landing page that my design team created for me quite a few years ago, actually. So we're still using this one. I have a new responsive one in Work. But this landing page gives people the ability to select whether they want to do a 15-minute, 30-minute conference call, or if they want to do a 60-minute or 90-minute in-person meeting. And using a tool called TimeTrade at timetrade.com, this connects and integrates directly to my Google Calendar. So my availability showing through to this public calendar is always up to date and current. When I'm traveling, going out of town, I have the ability to go into TimeTrade and block time periods so that people don't accidentally schedule me for a meeting in person in Calgary if I happen to be south in Phoenix, for example. And so TimeTrade.com is the first app that I wanted to introduce you to. If you are constantly going back and forth with people, trying to collaborate and pick a time when it's convenient to meet, I got to tell you, all I do is send out an email saying, I'm so glad you want to meet with me. Here's my calendar. Please pick a time that'll work for you. So that's TimeTrade at timetrade.com. Now, the second app I want to introduce you to is App2To. Starting at just $9 per month, you can automatically remind your appointments of their pending meetings. Your clients will be able to confirm, decline, or reschedule the meeting directly from their phone in the form of a text message or their inbox in the form of an email. Now, you do have the ability with App2To to also do phone call out, where the person will receive a phone message telling them reminding them of their appointment, and then by dialing a certain number on their phone, they can confirm, reject, or reschedule. So App2To is the second app I wanted to introduce you to, and for most people, you're looking at a starter plan, because it's based on the number of appointments you schedule and remind, of about $9 per month, so it's fairly affordable. App2To is an automated reminder service, It extracts the contact information directly from your calendar, automatically sends out appointment reminders via email, text messages, or via voice. And it is all about getting people to show up when they've committed to be in your office. And I got to tell you, this has saved me a ton of time in terms of making sure that when people are booked to come in and see me, that I'm not all prepped and ready to go and then they don't show up. Now, the very last app that I want to introduce you to complement your experience with Google for Work, if you are like me and have a mature inbox, you've been subscribing to stuff for years, of course you made it to some evil nasty spam lists, then a tool like SaneBox can really help you a lot. And so I use SaneBox to further supplement what Google does in terms of training and sorting the wheat from the chaff. So it gives you the ability to clean up your inbox. It literally happens within minutes. It pushes all of the non-important mail into what they call a sane later tag, and then literally as you go in and start reading your email every day, it's email from real people that you want to correspond with. And in sane later literally are hundreds of emails being filtered out. Now, it gives you the ability to train it. So if somebody's getting filtered into sane later, but they really should be in your inbox, you just drag them over, and these guys have software that's learning what you need and what you're doing. So those are 3 apps that I want you to explore and consider to complement your experience with Google Apps for Work. Understand that there is a huge community of developers out there creating systems and plugins to go with the Google world, and so have a look. Now, I'd like to introduce you to, I'm going to do that next. I want to offer you a one-to-one demonstration with Google for Work because I didn't really get into the meat and bones, but if you're interested in seeing how Google for Work will work for your business, write down my email address, shoot me a note, I'd be happy to do a demo for you. Also, there's a phenomenal apps learning center provided by Google for prospective clients. I've shortened the URL on the screen there to yyctips/learning center. So yyctips/learning center. Write that down or come back and watch the video later and get it. It will be live on YouTube shortly after today's webinar. The service that we provide with regards to Google for Work integration is that planning, that setup, and that training. So if you're thinking you might like to transition, we would be happy to consult you on that process to get you set up, trained, plan it through properly, do the migration of your existing mail into your new Google for Work setup into your Gmail account. And then we provide online training to get you and your team members up to date. A couple more slides here, and then I'm going to let you go. First one is I want to give you something else of value before we end our session today. I want to introduce you to budgies.online. That is a web address at http://budgies.online. This is our most current service offering. I'm very excited about it because it works so darn well. Here's an example of somebody chatting with our operators at a dental practice website saying, I'm new to Calgary and this would be my first visit, and then the chat goes on. And at the end of the day, Stephanie here, one of our operators, books the client in for a consult with the dentist. Here's another example of a fellow who has a BMW and he's chatting with our Budgies online to book an appointment for service on his BMW. I want to offer you 1 month free of Budgies online service. We'll do the setup, which we normally charge a setup fee for, and then we will live monitor your website to show you how many visitors are willing to engage our operators and chat with us at your website. So write that down. That's something for you to take away today that will bring great value to your business. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is David West with Cake Marketing. I'm the president of Cake Marketing. We have a team of people here in the Calgary office that are here to help you grow your business. We're a Google partner agency and proud of that status. That concludes my session for today. Thank you so much for joining me online. And Robin, I know you're muted, but thank you also again for joining me. Claudette, thanks for being online. And really nice to see lots of people in the chat that I recognize also. Thank you all for your support in joining us for this seminar today. Have a great day.